Good morning, Houston. It is just after 7:30 on this Thursday morning. I'm Stephanie Simmons here with Jacob Rascone. Thank you for tuning in to our special streaming coverage on KHOU 11 Plus as we continue to track these storms across the Houston area. New numbers coming in, just over 9,316 customers without power from CenterPoint. We also have numbers to get to in just a little bit from Entergy and beyond. So a lot of people sitting in the dark as they wake up.
We do have a weather impact alert. If you've been watching us, we had a tornado warning early this morning. Kim Castro, of course, tracking it all. That has expired. In fact, Kim, you were saying that the worst of it seems to be wrapping up, but really impressive rainfall today.
Oh yeah, I mean, impressive rainfall, impressive lightning, some wind along with that too, which contributed to those power outages. And we are going through the worst of it this early morning. I think, Jacob, to answer your question or to add to that, I think until about 9 o'clock, we'll be tracking a couple of these stronger storms. And then the rainfall rate should start to taper and the intensity of these storms should do the same. A special weather statement, though, right now that we're tracking, this lasts until 8 o'clock this morning. So for the next 30 minutes, this storm is going to do some damage. It's doing that right now along the bay, and it is headed northeast at around 30 miles an hour. So at that jog, it should get to Baytown by about 7:47 and then progress towards Eldon by 8:02, Mont Belvieu by 8:09. And then if it gets to Anahuac, if it holds together, it'll be in your neighborhood by 8:10. It has been a really loud start to the day. A number of different components that we have been tracking, which include the amount of heavy rain that we have gotten. So here is a wide bird's eye view of the rainfall that we're watching right now. The North Freeway, for the most part, has stayed pretty unscathed up until now. I'm watching a batch of showers with some lightning pushing closer towards Huntsville, riding through Conroe, Spring, and moving into the airport. This would probably be a concern for flights. We've already had a ground stop earlier today because of the lightning, and this next batch that is charged could potentially lead to increased delays. Then there is more heavy rain, unfortunately, for an area that really could use a break. I mean, the amount of rain that has fallen in Matagorda and Brazoria this morning has been really concerning. 10 inches close to Palacios and near Blessing. So additional rainfall is going to be a big threat. We'll be watching for flash flood concerns there. I will show you the active flash flood warnings that we have got in addition to the rainfall. I told you that most impressive is along the coastline, and there's that bullseye. This is just over the last 6 hours, and at this point it's been raining for a little longer than that. The pink that you see there, that is where we're tracking a little more than 10 inches. Let's see if we can get an accurate count, about 9 inches for that particular spot. Just to the north and east of there, about 9.5. So again, this is between Blessing and Palacios, an area that we've seen be hit tremendously hard. And then even pushing into Wadsworth, the amount of rainfall has been pretty significant too. At this point, almost totaling 8 inches. So let's take you kind of neighborhood by neighborhood, seeing where we've seen the heaviest rain. Hawkinsville, about 6 to 8 inches, I'd guesstimate, between Wadsworth and Hawkinsville. And then taking you up towards Needville, this is the area that had the tornado warning earlier today. So they've seen their fair share of heavy rain too. Just west of Needville, about 6 inches of rainfall. Let's keep going up. I'd say Richmond area and Sugar Land, you've seen pretty manageable amounts of rain. So I don't suspect any ponding or high water spots issues for you. So just about 1 inch for Richmond and about 1/2 inch for Sugar Land. So it's been a variety. You know, you're not seeing widespread flooding impacts. That's certainly not the case, but we are seeing pockets of really heavy rain. You'll notice along 288 near Bonnie, that's another area that's seen some considerable rainfall, maybe 2-3 inches. Yeah, 3 just about over the last few hours. And then same thing for Alvin. You'll see some localized heavy rain. In fact, remember, that's where that really strong cell is pushing from Alvin towards League City. And then within the loop in the Beltway, let's have a check at some of the rainfall rates there, because it has been impressive near Hobby Airport too over the last few hours. 3 inches there, Cloverleaf, just about 3 inches too. And then this spot, Baytown to Mont Belvieu, has piqued our interest because rain has been even heavier there. And we have had a flash flood warning there for the morning, so about closer to 6 inches of rainfall for our east siders. Flood risk for today is going to be a concern. We've got a widespread level 3 moderate threat. This is on the 1 to 4 scale. We talked about the most significant rainfall totals that we've seen, which again really favor the coastline. That flash flood warning has now been extended. This is brand new. It lasts until 11 o'clock this morning. So yeah, the National Weather Service is really concerned about this incoming batch of rainfall in an area that has already been really saturated. It looks, however, like they have allowed the flash flood warning that was for Cloverleaf to Baytown and Mont Belvieu to expire. So that's some good news there. They did get a lot of rain, but they haven't seen any additional heavy bands push through the area. Future track radar shows us we are going to see some more training storms. So rain that's coming over the same areas over the next few hours, but that really lightens up for the afternoon. In fact, I think a lot of our lunch plans, let's say you have something penciled in around noon, 1, 2 o'clock, they should be a lot more feasible. I think plans this morning, though, should be altered if you can, especially along the coastline, guys. You know, we still have that thread for 1 or 2 gusty storms, and so the power, it's going to be something that we track. I know at the peak height of these storms, you know, maybe an hour or so ago, you guys are mentioning 13,000 and then 16,000, and then the most updated number now, so the restoring power is about 9,000.
Yeah, it really wasn't that terrible with the power outages. Of course, if it was you, one of the 16,000, you know, you wouldn't think that, but widespread, you know, no, not as bad as we thought. So the green on the map, the lowest severe threat after now, but that other map with the other colors is the flood risk, right? We're still under, that flood risk is still high because of what you said about the incoming storm after all of that rain, including like 10 inches in Blessing. I'm still like so amazed at that number in just a few hours, that much rainfall. I hope that they're doing okay there.
Same, and that's why we've got this weather impact alert that's going to last us at least through 4 o'clock, because there are specific areas that we need to monitor. This isn't something that's going to impact our entire day everywhere you are, but it is something that's going to have a localized impact. So watching the forecast and seeing these peaks, that's going to be something that we track, especially like you mentioned, for Matagorda and Brazoria at this point that have accumulated, you know, cumulative 6 to 10 inches of rainfall. That's a lot in a short amount of time. So you asked about, you know, what the worst of it is. It's happening right now, and after the noon hour, it really starts to taper, which is good. And we take a good break through tomorrow morning. And then for the afternoon, we'll track a couple more scattered storms, though notice the threat goes down a little bit for tomorrow. So it's not going to be these really heavy, intense downpours for a prolonged period of time. And of course, guys, even when we get the rain, we don't see the relief from the heat. So you can't see, you can see it. There you go. 87 is going to be your high temperature today. So this afternoon, we are going to see some sun, kind of like we did yesterday. We had the really stormy start to the day, then the sun came out and it was hot and it was humid and it was Houston. So that's really what we're going to see again for today.
If it's not one thing, it's another. But thanks for breaking down those totals, Kim. It really helps put everything into perspective, because when the rain is relentlessly coming down, our roads and the ground can only take so much. So there is that threat for the street ponding and flooding, as Kim had been mentioning. We also want to make a quick mention that there is a ground stop at Hobby that was just issued until 8:30 a.m. and there's also still a ground delay at Bush Airport. That's preventing flights from coming in. They are being able to take off at Bush, but again, everything's in flux, so that could change. We'll keep you updated. For now, we want to go over to meteorologist Chris Ramirez with more on this weather. Chris, what's the latest on your end?
Yeah, so as we look at how long this rain is going to last, we can expect this to continue at least as we head into the 8:30 hour. Right now it's 7:41, but we are still expecting expecting these training storms and these heavy downpours to continue at least for much of the morning. And so when we have a lot of amount of rain, especially for this long, we will have to keep an eye on that flooding threat, especially as we head into the early afternoon hours. So we've already seen an aerial flood advisory that has just been issued for portions of Harris County. And so that's what we're going to have to keep an eye on the ponding on roadways. That's probably going to become worse as we go into the next 2 to 3 hours. And like Kim was just talking about, we're not expecting this to really let up until at least 3 and 4 p.m. So we are expecting also, and like we said, the flood risk that we were just showing you. Kim was showing you the severe weather risk. So this is the flood risk, and this is actually quite significant. And it includes a large portion of southeast Texas. That's a moderate flood risk. That's a 3 out of 4 on that flood index scale. And so we're going to have quite a bit of a risky day today when it comes to driving along our aerial roadways. And just behind that, as we look at radar, and we have that special weather statement that's in place for in and around the League City area. That's all thanks to the lightning and the gusty winds that are possibly a part of that storm. But look at all this rain that's just behind all of this. We have quite a bit to go when it comes to this heavy downpours, especially as I zoom out here, as you get a bigger picture. So we have this heavy rain tracking all the way from Victoria even to El Campo, and we usually are seeing this actually moving in from the from the southwest, and they're sort of just trailing. These trailing storms and these trailing downpours, it's what really is going to cause that flooding concern as we head into the rest of our morning. And so something to really keep an eye on in terms of the road conditions, as well as the hazards, the ponding on roadways. Just remember those flood safety measures: turn around, don't drown, as well as just not really being on the roadways when we usually see this heavy rain at the current moment if you don't have to. So flood conditions sort of starting to increase as we head into the rest of our morning, but we're also still tracking some strong storms. We still have that severe weather threat, and that's what we're seeing now. We had that isolated severe weather threat, and so when we talk about severe weather and severe storms, that's usually the storms that are consistent of at least 60-mile-an-hour winds or higher. And so that storm that's right here in the League City area for portions of Galveston and Harris County, that has about a 1/4-inch hail with it, with wind speeds at 40 miles an hour. That's actually heading off towards Baytown. So I can only imagine the National Weather Service will be issuing another special weather statement. But this is not having any winds that are in excess of 50 miles an hour. But what really is just that we're going to have to keep an eye on, and like Kim was just talking about, was the amount of rain that is falling in this amount of time, especially as we progress through the morning. So you can see Houston, all the red that's going through Houston, that is some heavy rain. And as we zoom out here, you could just see the large swath of rain that is just in place along the I-69 corridor from El Campo, even Columbus and Inez down just south of near Victoria. And this is going to continue its track into the Houston area as we progress through the morning. And so that's what we're going to start seeing, that flooding concern in place going into the next few hours. So like I said, not really seeing the tornado threat, not seeing a large damaging hail threat or a damaging wind threat. It's more so that flooding threat that we're going to have to really keep an eye on as we progress through the morning. And that's when we're going to start seeing the ponding on roadways become a little bit worse through the morning, at least through the 11 o'clock hour and even 12 p.m. hour. Of course, this is Houston. Those roadways, those low-lying areas that you probably know all about as you travel across the Houston area, definitely be on the lookout for those ponding on roadways. It's going to be a cloudy start to our morning. I know skies are fairly dark out there. It looks like it was night like when I first came in. And so we're just going to have to really keep an eye on those road conditions as we head into the next few hours, as heavy rain not expecting to let up at least anytime soon. Back to you.
All right, Chris, thank you. And he was just mentioning quarter-size hail in the League City area. Usually it would have to be a little bit bigger to cause major damage, but when your car's parked outside, if you don't have a garage and it keeps coming down, potential for tiny dings there for sure.
Devon Roming, thank you, Chris. Devon Roming's been out and about all morning long. I believe, Devon, you guys are southeast now, and the rain has been sometimes really heavy, sometimes not. But what are you seeing in terms of ponding or flooding on side streets, anything like that? I don't know if you've run into it yet.
Okay, so we've been out here since about 4:30 this morning, and I have to say that this is probably the worst that we've seen it thus far now here in the 7 o'clock hour as we head into the 8 o'clock hour. I'm going to flip the camera around just so you can see. We are on the Beltway here getting ready to get onto 45 south to head towards that League City area. Traffic is moving slow right now as people are trying to get off the ramp here to get onto 45. But this is the first time, you can't really see right now, but this is the first time we've seen people actually using their flashers and whatnot. And we're seeing and feeling the impacts of the weather that Chris was talking about when we talk about the winds, the winds moving at 40 miles per hour. We've seen a couple different accidents here along the Beltway since we've been driving here heading into 45. And so this is definitely, as we inch closer to the coast, we're definitely starting to feel and experience some of the impacts from these storms that have been moving in all morning. And again, this is the first time that we're starting to see that. The rain is actually starting to let up just a little bit for the first time, since we've been out here, and visibility is getting better. But just maybe like 5 minutes ago, it was coming down pretty heavily, and there were several cars again with their flashers on, taking their time here on the roadways just because of how rough it got there for a few minutes. But we're getting ready to head into League City, and I know that that's an area that a lot of folks are watching right now, specifically, the National Weather Service and our meteorologists are zeroing in on Galveston County right now, and we'll be sure to bring you the latest once we get into Galveston County to show you what we're seeing and what the roadways are looking like. But again, we've been saying it all morning, if you do not have to be out here, if you can work from home, by all means, this is the morning to do it, because traffic backups, accidents, severe weather conditions, it's definitely not the best to be out on the roads if you don't have to be, guys.
Devon, thank you. And especially the side streets and especially the more rural areas. When you get 5, 6, 7 inches in limited time, they just, as you said, it can't take that much water, and there's more on the way. So,
and you never know. People want to avoid the freeways, and then you go to the service roads, and it's even worse. You can't drive through it. Well, thank you so much for joining us for our special coverage on KHOU 11+. I'm Stephanie Simmons, along with Jacob Rascone. We're going to see you right back here just after 8 o'clock with another update.